Welcome to Season 2, Episode 4 of the My Adventures of the Superman podcast, brought to you by the Superman homepage, covering Season 2, Episode 4, titled Lanes Diverged, which aired on June 9th, 2024. Jimmy and Clark enter their apartment, wondering why Sam Lane wants to meet with them. Sam thinks Amanda Waller has found him and he's paranoid he's being watched. A knock on the door has him nervous, but it's only a delivery man dropping off Jimmy's invitation to speak at the Star Labs Symposium as an expert on aliens. Sam receives a text message saying, "They're on to you." Later, Clark calls Lois and leaves a message on her voicemail that he needs to speak to her. He tells her to meet him on the roof of the Daily Planet building that night. Jimmy arrives in a stretched limousine, ready to take Clark to the Star Labs Symposium, not because he's an alien, but because he's his best friend. Lois arrives at Clark and Jimmy's apartment to visit her dad, but the apartment is empty. She looks out the window and sees Sam sneaking around the corner. As she follows him, Lois thinks back to when she was 10. Having to move all over the country every few months because of his job, Lois is never able to have proper friends. Her mother isn't well, and the only person she really has to talk to is her dad. Sam, however, is only interested in training her through a series of tests out in the forest to prepare her for life. Back in the present, Sam uses a secret entry to access a hidden room stocked full of weapons and equipment. Lois confronts him, but they're not alone. Damage attacks. Clark and Jimmy arrive at the symposium, where a NASA employee asks to have a photo with Jimmy, aka Flamebird. Jimmy brags about all the times he's saved Superman. As they marvel at all the high-tech gear, the pair take advantage of an anti-gravity chamber that allows them to fly. Clark tells Jimmy that he's actually saved him in more ways than he knows. Jimmy has always made Clark feel accepted. As Jimmy is called to the main stage, he quickly realizes that the topic isn't what he thought it would be. He's there to debate the Superman problem with Lex Luthor. Lex believes Superman is a menace, that Metropolis has become dangerous because of Superman's presence, and that nobody will be able to stop the Man of Steel if he decides not to be helpful. While Jimmy does his best to counter Lex's argument, the crowd begins to side with Lex. Earth is for Earthlings. Watching on from the audience, Clark becomes very uncomfortable. Having escaped into the sewer tunnels below ground, Lois notices her dad's arm is injured and wraps it in a bandage for him. Sam thinks back to when she was a child and he patched a scraped knee for her. As father and daughter confront their emotional backstory, Atomic Skull attacks. They manage to escape and arrive at a pawn shop owned by Sam's old friend, Winslow Schott. In exchange for some alien tech, Schott supplies Sam with a passport and travel papers. Lois can't believe he's planning to run away and leave her behind again. She pleads with him to stay and let her help him, but Agent Wilson arrives. It seems Schott double-crossed Sam Lane and sent him the text message as a ploy to lure him into a trap. As Wilson attempts to kill Sam, the General uses an exploding toy teddy bear to buy them time. As Sam and Lois run, they're pursued by Atomic Skull, Damage and Agent Wilson. They're chased into the Star Labs Symposium, where the fight causes an explosion that is felt by those inside the auditorium. As Sam is about to be crushed by Damage, Superman arrives and joins the fight. Sam and Lois use some of the tech on display to fight the villains. When Lois uses the device to teleport her and her father away, the villains fall back. Lex Luthor, Jimmy Olsen, and the crowd from the auditorium emerge to see Superman amidst the damaged display hall. Lex drives home his point about Superman being dangerous. Arriving at Lois's apartment, father and daughter talk about Sam staying so they can work together to figure things out. Sam says it's better than staying with Clark, who he thinks is weird and different. Arriving outside Lois's apartment window, Superman hears the conversation, hears Lois agree that Clark is different, and flies away before Lois admits that Clark's difference is what she loves about him. Lois leaves a message on Clark's phone to apologise for not being able to meet him as planned. As Superman, Clark sits atop the Daily Planet globe feeling very alone. He looks at the Kryptonian beacon he wanted to tell Lois about and decides to activate it. He sends the message to his cousin Kara, hoping it will reach her wherever she is in the universe. Hank Henshaw and members of both NASA and the Pentagon meet with Lex Luthor and Amanda Waller. They're prepared to give them whatever resources they need to deal with the Superman problem. Lex assures them Earth will be safe. As he says this, an alien invader approaches Earth from space. I give this episode a 5 out of 5 rating. Boy, did that escalate quickly. I wasn't expecting Lex to become such a threat until later in the season, but this works better. His emergence as a huge threat to Superman is a huge blow to Clark's confidence. My Adventures with Superman isn't the first medium to deal with the topic of can Superman be trusted. It was very much the theme of all three of Zack Snyder's films starring Henry Cavill, especially Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice. However, here, Lex is using the recent influx of other super beings and alien technology to place the blame squarely at Superman's feet, and he used Jimmy Olsen to do so. The fact that Lois is unaware of any of this at this point in time is also intriguing. She's dealing with her own stuff this episode, with Sam's escapades leading her down memory lane, no pun intended. It was great seeing Lois and Sam's relationship through flashback moments. The parallel of her feeling alone and different, juxtaposed alongside Clark's feelings of being alone and different in this episode, was a masterstroke of storytelling. Jimmy has a lot to do once again in this episode, and while he continues to whittle away at his millions, I was happy to see him take the limelight as a guest speaker at the Star Labs Symposium. Unfortunately, Jimmy has now realised that he's the reason Alex has become the Lex Luthor we see today. Lex even thanks him for the pep talk that led him down this path. I'm sure we'll see the fallout from this revelation in next week's episode. Speaking of fallout, Superman has a lot going on. Not only has he been unable to find time to talk to Lois about the Kryptonian beacon, but now he thinks everyone thinks he's odd, different, alien, and a threat. His isolation at the moment seems worse than at any other time in his life. While I'm sure he and Lois will eventually work things out, there's what will happen now that he's activated the beacon that he'll also have to deal with. Not to mention the alien threat that is approaching Earth. Each week this show just adds one looming threat on top of another. There's a lot going on, but it's so well paced and never loses the aspects that make this show so great. There's depth of character, emotion, action, and superheroics. Once again, I love all the nods at Superman's history from across different mediums, name-dropping Emil Hamilton, General Wade Eiling, Senator Sackett, while introducing Winslow Schott, aka Toyman. I just love that the writers of this show know their Superman history. This was easily the best episode of Season 2 so far for me, so much to look forward to. I'm Steve Younis from SupermanHomepage.com.